Good morning, everybody. We're going to go ahead and get started here in just a second. We see we've got a lot of folks joining into the webinar, and we're very happy to see such a great turnout. It's a continuation of what the Office of Broadband is working on for a while here. I'd like to introduce myself. I am the Deputy Secretary, Ben Melnick, Deputy Secretary over Community Development. And with me here is the Director of the Office of Broadband, Katie Smith, and I'll turn it over to Katie in just a moment. I did want to start by saying thank you for joining us for our Technical Assistance Statewide webinar. The Broadband Opportunity Program, under the direction of Katie Smith, has really started growing in the Office of Broadband over the last couple of years, as many of you know and have participated and supported our efforts, has really scaled up and has been scoping out in various aspects. This is particularly about the Broadband Opportunity Program and the upcoming developments therein. And as many of you know, we are going through a rulemaking process that we are hoping to bring to fruition in the near future. This is a technical assistance webinar to make sure that we are on the same page as everyone out there, and y'all are in lockstep with us. As broadband has really, it's obviously always been a need, but recently it's come to the forefront as something that's critical for really all developments in the modern world, for family and social engagement, for healthcare, for work, for education. And so this is something we feel very passionate about. The agency is very happy to a technical assistance webinar with specific details to make sure that we're covering questions and understanding, and everybody is, as I said, in lockstep working towards the next steps. Of course, I would be remiss if I didn't say that the state being recently impacted by Hurricane Ian, we've had, as an agency, we have a lot of folks deployed to the area doing our best to support those in need. So we appreciate such a great turnout for this webinar. We recognize that this is both a great need and a timely need. We wanted to be able to bring this information to you all. We appreciate that you all are participating in this, and we look to moving forward with our program and our office. And I will now turn it over to Director Smith.
Thank you, Ben, and thank you all for joining the Broadband Opportunity Program Technical Assistance webinar today. We are very excited to launch this program, and this webinar today is going to cover a lot of information. It's going to answer questions, hopefully, about the rule, the application, the scoring and evaluation criteria, and a lot of information about how to submit an application, the awarding, and much more. There will be time for questions and answers after the presentation. So please feel free to add your questions and comments to the chat feature, and we will go ahead and get looking at those throughout the presentation so that we can be prepared with some answers for you. When you submit your question or your comment, please be sure to include your name and the entity or organization that you are representing so that we can keep track of that as well. We'd love to be able to reach back out to you if needed. And the questions don't get answered today will be included in the frequently asked questions that we will put on the website. So as always, lots of information goes onto our website, and this will be no different. So let's get started. right, so like I said, thank you so much for joining us today, October the 20th. We are pretty excited to be launching this program, and we have a lot of information to cover. And so we'll go ahead and get started. The Broadband Opportunity Program was launched under the leadership of Governor DeSantis in the Florida legislature. And we were established 2 years ago with very specific responsibilities. These responsibilities include marketing and promoting broadband internet service around the state, creating a map, a strategic plan, local technology planning teams around the state, and the Broadband Opportunity Program. The Office of Broadband is the state entity spearheading the expansion efforts for broadband in unserved and underserved communities in Florida. Florida Statutes 288.9961, 9962, and 9963 allow our office to work in the capacity that it does. The Broadband Opportunity Program specifically was established in Section 288.9962 of Florida Statutes, and it provides funding for the deployment and installation of broadband infrastructure expansion. The program was appropriated $400 million in American Recovery Plan Act state and local fiscal recovery funds. The office formally initiated rulemaking in May, and in August hosted 3 workshops in Polk County, Santa Rosa County, and in Glades County, where we received approximately 100 guests and welcomed over 150 guests to our workshops, and we received over 80 comments. The comments and emails were received and taken into consideration for all of the documents pertaining to the Broadband Opportunity Program. And the notice of proposed rule was posted in the Florida Administrative Register on September the 30th. The updated rule, application, and scoring criteria for the program can be found on the Office of Broadband website. Program guidelines and frequently asked questions can also be found on the website for more information. The office has made it a priority to provide feedback opportunities for communities across the state. And in doing so, many of you have responded with questions regarding the maximum grant allocation of $5 million. The $5 million is currently in statute and has been established by the Florida legislature, making this amount unchangeable. Additional funding can be leveraged for projects related to the Broadband Opportunity Program. However, if there are other state or local funds being utilized for the project, the office will only provide 50% of the total cost, up to $5 million. If the project is utilizing private funds, then cost sharing is not required, and an eligible project may receive the full grant allotment of $5 million. Statutory language states that if a project area has already received other federal broadband funding, then it is eligible for grant funding under this program. Funds will be distributed to awardees through a reimbursement process. Specifics of the reimbursement are listed in the grant agreement between the awardee and the Department of Economic Opportunity after grant awards are announced. Local technology planning teams are an integral part of the Broadband Opportunity Program. The office understands the work these teams have been doing to aid in the progression of broadband internet expansion, and we've heard your concerns and understand the value of monthly meetings with DEO to keep communities aware of the developments in state initiatives and in the grant program. Applicants for the program must be able to show public engagement and support for their project. While letters of support are important and valuable, applicants should be able to provide other proof of community engagement. Local technology planning team involvement is a great way to do this. During the application process, local technology planning teams can be a resource for entities when it comes to how community needs are addressed. Local technology planning teams have firsthand knowledge of what communities need and are a great point of contact when completing an application. Entities that qualify for funds include corporations, limited liability companies, general partnerships, and limited partnerships that are organized under the laws of this state or otherwise authorized to transact business in Florida. Political subdivisions and Indian tribes are also eligible for grant funding. The office cannot grant funding directly or indirectly to a government entity or educational institute. The office will not be releasing a new map prior to the application window opening. We will use data from the current maps on the website, as well as other data available to the office. There is no one-size-fits-all solution for solving the issue of broadband connectivity in the state of Florida. As such, the office understands that each community has different technology needs and solutions, and will consider all types of technology for expanding broadband infrastructure. The application window is set to open on November the 2nd, 2022. The application will be accepted via the application portal on the broadband webpage, www.floridajobs.org/broadband. The application portal has not yet been posted to the website. There is no limit on the number of projects one applicant can submit. Grants will be awarded until funds are depleted. The office has not defined project or project area. We are allowing applicants to determine the project area. The office is not requiring applicants to address each of the 25 strategies in the strategic plan for broadband, but the project must align with as many strategies as possible. In order to ensure that your application is considered, there are a few things to take into account. Applicants must be sure they complete all application fields with the correct information. If you have a question while completing the application, technical assistance is available Monday through Friday between the hours of 9 a.m. and 5 p.m. Please email the office at broadband@deo.myflorida.com. All figures in the project budget field should be checked for accuracy. The signatory on the application should be checked to make sure that they have the authority needed to sign the application. And if an applicant waits until the deadline to submit or request technical assistance with the application, it may cause a delay in getting the application submitted on time. Applications are due by 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on December 2nd, 2022. Any application submitted past 5 p.m. will not be accepted for consideration. To create a strong project description, the applicant should utilize common broadband industry terminology. The project description should include any relevant information regarding landmarks and local landmarks. Population demographic information should also be included, and include any available information about traditionally unserved residents or previous local broadband projects within the respective community. Community engagement for a project is a requirement to be considered for grant funding for the Broadband Opportunity Program. These communities are the ones who are best able to assess their needs for a project, and a project cannot be implemented without the input of community members. Showing evidence of community engagement could take the form of documentation of meetings of the local technology planning teams, physical records from local government meetings in which the applicant presented, workshopped with local elected officials, and any memorandums of agreement or understanding between the applicant and its project partner or partners, specifically as it pertains to long-term sustainability and maintenance of the networks. Guidance on application challenges is written in statute and comes from section 280.9962 of the Florida statutes. Section 6C states a broadband internet service provider that provides existing service in or adjacent to a proposed project area may submit to the office within 45 days after publication of the information under paragraph B, a written challenge to an application. The challenge shall contain information demonstrating that the provider has currently deployed broadband internet service to retail customers within the project area. The provider has begun construction to provide broadband internet service to retail customers within the proposed project area within the time frame proposed by the applicant, or the provider commits to providing broadband internet service to retail customers within the proposed project area within the time frame proposed by the applicant. Section D of the same statute number states that within 3 business days of the submission of a written challenge, the office shall notify the applicant in writing of the challenge. The office shall evaluate each challenge submitted under this subsection. The office determines that a provider currently has deployed or begun construction to provide or commits to provide broadband internet service in the proposed project area. The office may not fund the challenged project. If the office denies funding for an applicant as a result of the broadband internet service provider's challenge, and the provider does not fulfill its commitment to provide broadband internet service in the unserved area, the office may not consider another challenge from the provider for the next 2 grant application windows, unless the office determines that the failure to fulfill the commitment was due to circumstances beyond the provider's control. The office will award grants to projects for the installation or deployment of infrastructure that supports the provision of broadband internet service within the state, while demonstrating optimal impact of Broadband Opportunity Program funds. There are 8 major evaluation criteria with subcategories and considerations for each. See this list here on the slide in front of you. Broadband impact, network scalability, project viability and sustainability, economic distress, funding sources and community support, alignment with the state strategic plan, project readiness, and affordability and adoption assistance. Maximum point awards are listed in the criteria, which is located in the actual scoring and evaluation criteria document on our website. The total possible points for an application that they can receive is 300. The minimum number of points for an application to be considered for a grant award is 130 points. As I said earlier, the application window will open November 2nd and will close December the 2nd. Timeline is as follows. On September 28th, our scoring criteria was posted to the website. The application window will open on November the 2nd. It closes December the 2nd. On December the 7th, the applicant list will be posted to the office website. With the publication of the applicant list of all applications received, the challenge window will then open. On January 21st, 2023, the challenge window will close after 45 days. February 1st is the tentative schedule date for the first round of awards to be announced. All payments will be made through cost reimbursement. Grantees must ensure all payment requests are made during the required time period. To ensure that this happens, grantees should consider timing on purchases of necessary project materials, labor contracting due to present supply shortages and challenges, cash flow challenges, and contingency planning. There are special considerations the office has made for rural communities. Of the $400 million appropriation, 40% of the allocation has been set aside after administrative costs for funding awards to rural communities. If the entire 40% set aside has not been awarded, the remaining amount will be rolled into the larger pot of funding. To be considered for an award, an applicant must have a minimum of 130 points. On November the 1st, the office will host a second technical assistance webinar focused specifically on rural communities. To register for this webinar, please visit the Office of Broadband website. Following the launch of the Broadband Opportunity Program, there will be additional opportunities for communities to gain funding through the Office of Broadband. Some of these opportunities include Capital Projects Fund, the Broadband Equity Access and Deployment Program, the Florida Digital Adoption and Use Program, which is through the Digital Equity Planning Grant. For more information on these programs, please visit our website, floridajobs.org/broadband, and details on the application window and specifics for these grant programs have not yet been released. I want to thank you all for attending the webinar. I appreciate your continued commitment to further the expansion of broadband internet in Florida communities. Our office has enjoyed speaking with you throughout this process, and I know that a lot of information has been covered today. At this time, I have Sean Lewis, who is our Chief of Broadband Initiatives, who will be joining me to address comments from the chat feature. If we don't get to your question, please email it to the email address on the screen.
Our first question, can a single applicant submit multiple project applications?
Yes, as long as the project area is not repeated in multiple projects, then yes. If there are different project areas, then that is a separate application for each project area.
Our second question, do the grants require match? If so, how much?
If a community, there is no required match for this particular program. If a community or applicant, rather, an applicant decides to provide some type of match funding to the project, then we will match up to 50% of that match up to $5 million. If there is no match requirement, if there is no match that is submitted to the office with the application, in the application, there is no requirement for that, and the office will review the application as a full grant award of $5 million.
Our third question, will we be able to apply for RDOF areas, canceled RDOF areas, defaulted RDOF areas?
That we are discussing internally, and I will have an answer for you hopefully in the next few days, because I know that is something that you need to have direction on. So that is definitely something that we are considering.
Fourth question, why is the program on a reimbursement basis? Allowing advances is critical to the successful participation.
The cost reimbursement process is something that the office and other programs here at the Department of Economic Opportunity, that is the process that how we award our grants. This is where private dollars are very beneficial, and having that public-private partnership is very beneficial to the applicant, regardless of who the applicant is, whether it is the private corporation or a local community. Having the public-private partnership allows for those private dollars to be invested so that the grant award can be provided as a cost reimbursement program.
Our fifth question, Can partnerships include hospitals that want to expand into rural areas that they serve? If so, please elaborate on how hospitals would be able to go about it.
I think that's a great question, and we will need to double check how the statutory language is written. But I do believe that it is something that we can take a look at. As I'm reviewing the statute right now, assuming the hospital is not listed as a government entity or educational institute, it should be eligible for a application, to submit an application.
Our sixth question, please confirm that electric co-ops are eligible to participate in this program.
If electric co-ops are listed as a corporation, a limited liability company, a general partnership, or a limited partnership that is organized under the laws of the state, or an electric co-op is otherwise authorized to transact business in this state of Florida, they would be an eligible entity. I do not know how a co-op is fully defined, or how that co-op defines their status.
Question number 7, will DEO seek to change the no other federal funds limitation?
The office and the DEO are not planning to make any changes to statute during this funding board program.
Question number 8. The refund methodology is going to make it very hard for smaller operators that are already providing the best services to rural areas using their own private funding. That should be reconsidered for a draw schedule instead. They are already going to have to provide a $5 million match per project.
As there is no match requirement for the project, the applicant will be eligible for the $5 million total. That does not necessarily mean that everyone will get a full $5 million, but it is definitely something that the office will take into consideration. We want to provide as many awards as possible. We want to be able to work with our applicants. We want to be able to provide the full amount of funding necessary so that we can see full broadband expansion within the state.
Question number 9. Will a recording of this meeting be available?
Yes.
As well as a PowerPoint?
Yes, it will be available on the website.
Question 10. This is a long one. If a challenge is accepted by the state on the basis that the challenge commits to provide qualifying service in another applicant's project area within the related timeline, that will block the applicant's project from being funded. What controls and/or penalties are in place to prevent existing ISPs from simply challenging areas they want to defend, but then do not build as committed in the challenge?
That is a great question, and something that we'll have to get back to you on that and work on exactly how the application challenge period will play out.
Next question. Will DEO, working with providers, be willing to to confirm whether an area is available?
We will be able to identify areas that are unserved and underserved. However, the community knows, and typically the provider as well, knows best where those unserved and underserved areas are. So please take that into consideration, that we are looking to the applicants as well to know exactly where those areas are. We have a pretty good idea, but you know your community better than we do.
Next question. Can a government entity receive this funding? I believe the webinar stated, quote, not directly or indirectly to a government entity, unquote. Please explain further.
The office, yes, the office cannot grant funding directly or indirectly to a government entity or educational institute.
Okay. Next question. Any funding for communities affected by the hurricane?
That is a question that has come up in the last few weeks and something that we are discussing with leadership.
Next question. Can you touch on the project cap again related to combined grants and other local funds?
If there are state and local funding that will go into the project, we will match those dollars up to $5 million. If there is no other state and local funding going into the project, and it is private dollars, the state will award up to $5 million.
Next question. Can you confirm funding for this program is SLRF?
Yes, it is state and local fiscal recovery fund.
Next question. Will the Broadband Opportunity Grant Program application portal opening on November 2nd be the same portal used later for BEAD?
Yes, it will be the same entry point for all of our funding opportunities.
Next question. Are there any guidelines for submitting confidential information?
Yes, on the application and the scoring criteria, I do believe we specifically note how to submit proprietary and confidential information. It will need to be submitted on the application, but also in an additional document that says very specifically what items are considered proprietary and confidential.
Next question. How does the state anticipate comparing grant applications that overlap?
We will be evaluating the applications independently of each other. And if those applications do overlap in the project areas, we will have to take further note of that.
Next question. What information will be available on December 7th so that ISPs can challenge individual applications? Will there be detailed address level information provided by the applicants so that they can challenge specific addresses?
The information that will be posted to our website is specific to what is listed in statute. And that is in section 288.9962.
Will there be a definition for project and project area?
There will not.
We are working with Central Florida Electric Co-op as the provider for our area. The plan is to pass our funding to CPEC's project. Is this possible as they are already working on the project?
This program is for projects that are shovel ready but have not been started.
Can interest payments on loans that may be used by privately funded applicants be considered an allocable expense that is eligible for reimbursement?
That is a great question. I will have to get back to you.
Is the DEO aware of the scale of RDOF defaults? SpaceX has defaulted on all bids, saving much of Southwest Florida without a solution. Likewise, Hotwire has defaulted on at least 50% of projects. There should be no reason that defaulted RDOF projects should bar a grant applicant from this current round.
Thank you for your comment. We'll take a look at that further.
Please confirm, while applicants can include underserved, they cannot be 100% underserved.
I'm sorry, can you repeat the question?
Yeah, it's oddly worded. Please confirm, while applicants can include underserved, they cannot be 100% underserved.
The program looks to serve the unserved first. Then underserved areas will be addressed.
If the awards are purely based on scoring, does that mean that applicants may not receive awards if in some counties that have unserved and underserved areas? What is DEO's strategy regarding optimizing the benefit of these funds, including addressing areas that may have some served areas?
Depending on the unserved areas and the number of unserved areas and how many project areas are defined within those unserved areas, those will be addressed first statewide.
How would a school in a rural area be able to apply for the program through a private entity? How would they be able to apply for the program? Question. Through a private entity?
A school, we would need to be very clear on whether the school is considered independent from a government entity. And then once that definition is established, then we can figure out if they are with the potential applicant to identify a potential project.
What if an applicant does submit projects with some of the same project area? I think we've already answered this one.
Okay.
Yeah, we've answered this question already. Okay.
These are some really great questions. Thank you all. I can see that there are a lot of really good questions, a lot of things to consider, especially for us. So thank you very much. Please keep the questions coming. And if we don't get to everything today, we have them here in the chat feature so that we can address them in the frequently asked questions.
All right. Are the grants limited to those areas that are less than 25.3?
Those are the areas that we will begin with, because if anything under 25.3 is considered unserved.
Will DEO either fully fund or not fund an application? How will DEO negotiate score reductions for applications?
Definitely something that we would have to get back to you on, and I think that will be determined as the applications begin coming in and how the application scores.
With respect to community support, does that include financial support for the project by a county partnering with the ISP?
I do not want to put a strain on local governments, knowing that that is a large concern of theirs in regards to this project. I think it's important to consider all avenues of funding and financial support for projects. But I do not want there to be a concern or a project area that is not part of an application because of that particular piece.
Please clarify the no match requirement statement and provide an example scenario.
If an applicant is providing match dollars to a project that is from state or local dollars, there are local dollars that are being used, those will be considered a match. If it is private dollars that are being used to support the project, that is not considered a match. If state or local funds are provided in support of the award amount, say those dollars are, that's $5 million for a $10 million overall project, then $5 million, we will match $5 million. If there are funds that come in that there is $2.5 million worth of local dollars, we will match that $2.5 million. Again, I do not want to put a strain on those small and rural communities.
What is considered by definition of the state of unserved and underserved, and what areas are eligible by speed?
I believe our statute specifically states that unserved is anything less than 25.3.
We've noticed several providers have reported services in areas that they have planned to serve, but are not actually serving. How can we prove that they do not actually have services in an area that they have claimed?
We'll have to get back to you on that. It's a great question.
Just to clarify, the points matrix still only gives points for serving areas that currently have 10-1 or 25-3. Does that mean no points will be awarded for households that are currently served by 110 or 120?
If the project can, and I understand the challenge when I say this, but if a project can identify which households, which areas within that project area are completely unserved, if it is in development, if it is if there are homes that are not, or premises passed that are unserved, while next to a served premise, that will be taken into consideration, but it needs to be clearly defined.
This one is similar to one that was already asked. How can we challenge an area? How can we challenge an area of a served area? Some locations of a served area, according to the broadband map, do not have the speeds that is advertised.
I think we've
You touched on that one before. Okay, next question. Confirming that applications can be submitted via email and in person, not using the portal.
My preference is that you use the portal. If there is a reason that you are unable to utilize the portal, we will accept applications via email, but my preference is to utilize the portal. It must be extenuating circumstances.
If governments cannot receive funding directly or indirectly, please explain the private/public partnership arrangement. Would a local government need to have a contractual relationship?
That is between the private entity and the community. That is not something the office will define.
Will these questions with responses be posted on the DEO website?
Yes, through the frequently asked questions, we will be expanding that frequently asked questions list that is currently listed on our website.
Can you update us on whether some similar rules will be used for the Capital Projects Fund and that a different funding pool / allotment from the Broadband Opportunity Grant Program?
The programs that are upcoming through capital projects and BEAD are very similar to this program. There are definitely different requirements and different nuances to those programs, but they will be very similar with what information that we are asking for especially specific to infrastructure projects.
And there's a follow-up to that one is there a timeline in place or an estimate of when these guidelines and rules will be made available?
I do not have a timeline at this point for those. That's a great question.
Is the PPP required or encouraged?
Public-private partnership is required as part of the application.
Why is the state excluding local governments from a funding source called State and Local Government Recovery Funds? DSLR.
We are using state and local fiscal recovery funds as a state to fund this program.
And it's by we're following statute.
Correct.
Could you please clarify which map will be used in determining unserved and underserved areas?
We will be using a combination of both maps on our website.
Okay, this is a series of questions. There's 7 questions in this one part. What is meant by strong support from communities? Will letters of support suffice, or is the DEO wanting more partnerships? That's the first part.
Letters of support are a great option and a great way to show the community support. But we really would like to see that there is more than just a form letter signed by various entities. We want to see that there was community engagement, participation in the local technology planning teams. We are also utilizing the Broadband strategic plan that does mention public-private partnerships and engagement with the local technology planning teams and other initiatives of the state.
Can the DEO clarify what entities are included in the municipal electric utility for the pole attachment subsidy?
Sorry, say that again?
Sure. Can the DEO clarify what entities are included in the municipal electric utility for the pole attachment subsidy?
We'll have to get back to you on that as that we're focusing on the Broadband Opportunity Program today.
Third question in the series. What exactly is meant by, quote, funds for state and federal funding? Are loans included?
We'll have to get back to you.
I'm not sure.
I'm not sure I understand
Of that question. Yeah.
Sorry.
Fourth one in that series. Can a subsidiary of an electric co-op apply as the main applicant with the cooperative as the subrecipient?
If they are defined, if they can be defined as eligible applicants listed in statute, yes.
Fifth question in that series. Are existing ISPs the only entities allowed to submit a challenge to proposed projects?
Sorry, say that again.
Sure. Are existing ISPs the only entities allowed to submit a challenge to proposed projects?
No.
The sixth question in the series. What are the requirements regarding the open access stipulation, since this is a last mile, not middle mile project?
I believe that is addressed in the application and scoring criteria.
And the final question in that series is, how can we sign up for periodic updates on speed test data?
Anytime you are interested in receiving data in a specific area regarding the speed tests that have been taken, we are happy to share that information. Please just send us an email to broadband@deo.myflorida.com. Thank you so much, everyone, for all of your questions. We will be reviewing all of these questions and coming back to them, trying to get some good, solid answers for you for our frequently asked questions. I'm hoping to have those updated on our website within the next few days. So definitely prior to the application window opening, so that does provide some clarification for all of the applicants. If you have any questions, additionally, please send that to broadband@deo.myflorida.com. If you are not receiving any of our updates, please go to our website at floridajobs.org/broadband and click on the button to receive updates from our office, and you will be included on our mailing list. And we look forward to working with all of you in the very, very near future. Thanks so much for attending today.